You think you're thinking for yourself. You're not. I'm Jordan. Welcome to the Theology Made podcast. You think your beliefs are your own, but they're not. Not your politics, not your morality, not even most of what you think about God. You didn't sit down one day, weigh all the evidence, and arrive at your worldview like some kind of neutral judge. You inherited it, absorbed it, installed it. And the strangest part, it feels like you chose it. A few years ago, a group of psychologists ran a simple experiment. They brought people into a room and asked them to fill out a survey. Basic opinion questions, politics, ethics, social issues, nothing unusual. And then the researchers swapped out the participants' answers. When the forms were handed back, something bizarre happened. Most people didn't notice. Even stranger, they started defending answers they had never actually chosen. They gave reasons, justifications, passionate arguments for beliefs that weren't theirs. Let that sink in. They didn't just accept the new answers, they built identities around them. Now, before you think, yeah, but that's them, that's the point. It's not just them. It's you, it's me, it's all of us. Because the human mind doesn't work the way we think it does. We like to imagine we're rational creatures who form beliefs based on evidence. But in reality, we form beliefs first, then we go looking for reasons. Think about how you got your worldview. Not how you defend it now, how you got it. You didn't choose your parents, you didn't choose your early environment, you didn't choose the first stories you were told about what's good, what's evil, what matters, what doesn't. Those things got to you before you were even capable of questioning them, before you had the tools to evaluate them, before you even knew you had a choice. And here's where it gets strange. The earlier a belief gets to you, the more invisible it becomes. Not because it's weak, but because it feels obvious. It feels natural, just the way things are. You don't question gravity, you don't question breathing, and for most people, we don't question our deepest assumptions about reality because they don't feel like beliefs, they feel like facts. And that's not even the real problem. The real problem is what happens next. Because once a belief is in place, your brain doesn't just sit there neutrally evaluating new information as it comes in. It becomes a bodyguard, filters what you see, what you hear, what you take seriously, and what you dismiss instantly. And you've felt this before. You hear an idea that challenges what you believe, and before you even process it fully, something in you tightens. You lean back, you look for the flaw, not because you've carefully analyzed it, but because it doesn't fit. And that reaction's not coming from logic, it's coming from identity. And here's something worth sitting with. You don't defend your beliefs. You defend the version of yourself built on top of them. And that's why conversations about truth feel so intense. It's not just ideas clashing, it's identities. Because if a belief falls, it's not just an opinion that changes, it's you, your sense of self, your place in the world. And if you think this is a modern problem, it's ancient. There's a moment in the Gospels where Jesus is speaking to a group of people who are absolutely convinced they're right. Not just casually right, morally right, spiritually right. They have the tradition, the history, the structure, and he looks at them and basically says, "You're so certain, you've completely missed it." That's unsettling because these were not careless people. They were serious, disciplined, thoughtful, and yet still wrong. But here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. They didn't think they were resisting truth, they thought they were defending it. Pause on that. They thought they were protecting what was right, when in reality, they were protecting what was familiar. And that's the danger. It's not ignorance, it's overconfidence. Here's another line worth remembering. The most dangerous beliefs aren't the ones you doubt, they're the ones you never think to question. Now, fast forward to today. Scroll through your feed, watch how people argue, watch how quickly someone is labeled dismissed or attacked, not after careful thought, but instantly. Why? Because we don't just hold beliefs anymore. We now broadcast them, we perform them, we build communities around them. And once a belief becomes social, it becomes untouchable. Because now changing your mind doesn't just mean you were wrong, it means I might lose my people. And that's not even the real problem. The real problem is that we've convinced ourselves we're more independent than we actually are. We say things like, "I just think for myself." But if you zoom out, most people cluster into groups with nearly identical beliefs. It's the same language, same reactions, same assumptions, which raises a question that's hard to ignore. If you're truly thinking independently, why do so many people think exactly like you? And here's where this starts to hit a bit deeper. Because this isn't just about culture or politics or social media. It's about something more foundational. It's about how humans are formed. In Christian theology, there's the idea of spiritual formation, the idea that you're constantly being shaped not just by what you believe, but by what you love, what you pay attention to, what you repeat, what you immerse yourself in. You're not a static thinker, you're a shaped person. And that means something important, that you don't just have beliefs, you're being formed into someone who believes certain things. Which flips the question. Instead of asking, what do I believe, you have to ask, who is shaping what I believe? And that's where things get uncomfortable, because now it's no longer abstract, it becomes personal. Think about your inputs, what you watch, what you listen to, who you trust, who you dismiss, what you never even consider. Those things are not neutral, they're forming you consistently over time. You become what you repeatedly listen to. And if that's true, then most people aren't thinking, they're echoing. Now, before this turns into cynicism, like, okay, so nobody knows anything, everything's fake. That's not the point. The point isn't that truth doesn't exist. The point is that getting to truth is harder than we think because the obstacle isn't just out there, it's in here. Your instincts, your assumptions, your reactions. And here's the deal. The goal isn't to eliminate influence because that's impossible. Everyone is going to be shaped by something. The real question, I think, is are you being shaped intentionally or accidentally? Because one of the core claims of Christianity isn't just believe the right things. It's transformation, a reshaping, a reorientation of how you see reality, not just information. That's spiritual formation, which means following truth isn't just about collecting better arguments. It's about becoming the kind of person who can actually recognize it. And that's rare because it requires something a lot of people avoid: humility. And real humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's recognizing you might be wrong about things you feel absolutely certain about. And that's terrifying because it means stepping outside the comfort of I already know. But here's where it gets really interesting. If your beliefs were installed, they can be examined, challenged, refined, and rebuilt. Not by tearing everything down blindly, but by asking better questions. Not, is this what I've always believed, but why do I believe this at all? Not who agrees with me, but what's actually true. Because at the end of the day, you will be shaped by something. I will be shaped by something. Cultures, trends, algorithms, communities, or it can be something deeper. And the question isn't whether you're being formed, it's whether you're awake to it. Because the most subtle kind of control isn't forcing you to believe something, it's making you think you came up with it on your own. You've never really been as independent as you thought, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. It just means the work is deeper than you realized. Hey, if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe on whatever channel you're listening on.